All right. Clicking people through here. Patrick's going to take that over for me as we get started. But thank you for joining. As I was watching the weekly Ninja video this week and really thinking about how our market is shifting right now, I thought it was so timely to jump in and do a little session here on pulling market stats and the importance of pulling market stats and kind of knowing what's going on in the market so we can prepare our clients, prepare our buyers and sellers for those shifts and make sure that we're setting good expectations. So as always, feel free to use the chat as we go along here or unmute yourself and ask questions. As we get into the stats, I know that there's a lot of different ways that you can pull some of this data and some of this information. I'm going to show you the ways that I like to pull it and what I think is easiest, but you might have another way. So feel free to share those. I think we can all learn from each other here. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Maybe. Get that one in the front. All right, hopefully you all see this. This is my MLS dashboard when I log in. Yours might look a little bit different. You can move these widgets, they call them, around. So if yours looks a little bit different, that's okay. I do want to point out here, right as we get in, we're going to go through kind of the 4 big market stats that were put inside this week that were on that Ninja video. We are going to talk about looking at the number of price decreases and then looking at how to calculate days on market and how to go back and look at that month by month. And then our sales to list price ratios, how those are changing in the market, and then where to see a quick number on active listings. So I'm going to actually start at the bottom there on our active listings and show you, hopefully in your MLS dashboard, somewhere on there, you've got your market watch. Mine's right here, kind of top center. This gives you, as you log in, pay attention to these. I know a lot of people log in and it's just kind of noise to them and they don't look at it. But this is a great way to keep tabs on what's going on in the market. You can customize this a little bit. I want to show you that real quick. So right now, mine is set up. My default is set up when I log in to give me all of these great stats based on the entire market for the last 24 hours. You can see right down here, this drop down. You can actually come in here and say how far back you want to go. You don't have a ton of options here, but you can either go today. So it'd be everything from midnight last night forward, the last 3 days and the last 7 days. So if I want to come in here and see what's gone on in the last week, what has our activity been like? You can see these adjust and it'll show you, these are all live. So if you click on any of these, you can actually click through and see all of the new listings that came on in the last 7 days. I like to have mine at 24 hours just so I can see the activity from the last day or so. You could also come over here, and if you want to do any other property types, most of you will probably just want to keep that at residential. And you can actually come in here and customize. So if you want your market watch to be a specific county, a specific area, maybe it's a school district, a city, you can actually come in here and customize what you want your market stats to look like. I know I just went really fast on that. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. But it's a really great tool when you log into MLS every day to kind of just glance at real quick and keep an eye on what's going on in the market. I think Peter had said in his video, memorize every day how many active listings there are. So if I look at the last 24 hours, let's just click that to today. 187 listings just today, and it's only what, 9 a.m. That's a great way to kind of memorize and get a sense as to how many listings are coming on the market. It's also going to show you, going back to kind of that first topic point on price decreases, it's going to show you price decreases as well. So right here, the third one down is your price decreases. So pay attention to that one as well, and you can start kind of tracking and get a sense as to what's going on in the market just by looking at this little market watch. Is anybody using this or have used it in the past or use it frequently and pay attention to this? I know for years when I logged into MLS, it was just kind of there and I went straight into the search and really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it.
Christian, I know
Giovanna,
Ivana's got her, oh, I'm sorry, you saw
yes.
her too. She's got her hand up.
Oh, so I just missed where you would go to watch those numbers by like where can you move it by area?
So right here in the widget, and your widget might be in a different place because you can move these around. Right here at the bottom under the where you can select the drop down for the time frame, if you go to customize, it'll pull up and it looks very similar to what we do in our residential searches. But let's say I just want area, come on here, area 310. And I go down here and hit save. And now my market watch is set and customized just to area 310. If I want to do, I'm going to hit customize again. And if I want to do a county, come on. Let's say I just want to pay attention to what's going on in Jackson County. Now it's customized for just Jackson County. If you want to clear those, if you come in and start playing with this and realize, I just want to see what's going on in the full marketplace, you can hit this reset button right here next to customize, and it'll just reset to the default, which is the entire market. I think Jan had her hand up. Jan? Oh, I don't see it up now. Let me pull up my chat here. Erica asked a great question. Can you have multiple customized searches? You can't in the market watch, but you can over here in hot sheets. So let's move over here to hot sheets next. And I'll show you kind of how you can customize some of these. So in your hot sheets here, I've got several here that are customized. I've got one that's all of the BHG listings. So I want to see how much activity that we're doing as a company on a daily basis. So if I come in here and click on my BHGKCH, and I'll show you how to set these up, this is going to pull up all of the new listings for our company. It's a great way. We used to send out, I know some offices still do it, but we used to send out a company hot sheet and a spreadsheet every day. We don't do that anymore. This is a great way to duplicate that and put that right there on your dashboard. And I'll show you how you do that, how you customize those. Yours probably has the residential. We've got there are some defaults in there for MLS, your residential, commercial, land, multifamily rental, cross property. To customize, right down here in the bottom widget, very similar to where it is in the market watch, you can hit this customize. And you can go in, these are all of my different hot sheets. If I want to add a new hot sheet, oh, it's not going to let me because I have too many. Let me just delete one. We'll delete, you know what? We'll delete this one and I'll show you how you can set up a hot sheet for the company. How about that? Okay, so now I can add. It was grayed out before. So I'm going to add, and I want to set up a hot sheet. It's going to be residential, and I can name it right here. And I like putting my custom ones in all caps. That way I can differentiate between mine and the standard system ones. I'm going to hit save, and when I do, it's going to take me, it's going to put it right here, and then I'm going to click edit criteria. So I'm going to pull new listings right here under type. I want new listings. I also want anything that's gone under contract. Maybe it's come back on the market. And then I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of this. There is a listing office info down here way at the bottom. And if you put into the listing office ID, KCH, and then put a little star and hit save, it will pull everything, any of our Kansas City Homes offices. I can go back in, I can re-edit that, I can rename here. If I want it right at the top, I highlight that and I hit this move up button, and it allowed me to move this right up to the top. And then I hit done. Why it's not at the top, I don't know. And then this is going to show me everything that is within our company, you can see right over here, listing offices. It's all of our different offices. And this will show me all of the new listings in the last 7 days. And I'll show you, very similar to Market Watch, you've got that little drop down that you can differentiate your time on there. Right here is your little drop down. So when I change this, if I go to just in the last 24 hours and I click on this again, you can see the 8 new listings here that the company has put on, that you all have put on the market in the last 24 hours. Pretty handy. Any questions on that one? All right, we're going to go back to our home screen. Now we're going to look at, let's start diving into a little bit of the meat now that I've kind of given you a couple little shortcuts there on your dashboard. How do we look at price decreases? And we're going to stay over here on hot sheets because you can actually set up a hot sheet and look at your price decreases for the market. I've already set one up here. I'm going to go in and delete this one and set it up from scratch so you can see it. We'll just delete that. So to set up your price decrease hot sheet, you're going to come in here and hit customize. And we're going to hit our little handy add button. And I'm going to call this price reductions. We could call it price corrections. And now again, I'm going to hit, well, I have it highlighted here. I'm going to hit this edit criteria. And then over here in my change types, I actually have a category here that is a price decrease. So if I want it for the entire market, everyone, every listing in our entire Heartland MLS coverage area, that's all I need to do is just do the price decrease and then hit save. And I'm going to move that up. I like them high on my list. Hit done. And then now when I log into MLS anytime, it's already preset for me. So right over here in my hot sheets, all I have to do is click on price reductions. Now, you might want to change the time frame. So you might want to say, okay, I want to look and see the last 7 days, how many price reductions happened in the marketplace. And you hit your price reductions and it's automatically going to pull the last 7 days, the entire market. It's going to pull all of those changes. So I get a count right here at the top. There are 462 price reductions in the last 7 days in the marketplace. So as you set this up and start looking at it, I would maybe it's a notebook and you just jot it down on paper, or you could do a Google Sheet and keep track of what's going on in the market. And every week, try to come in about the same time every week. When I pull our market stats for that graphic that goes out for sales meetings, and some of you use that for social, I try to go in every Monday at 10:30 and pull stats. That way I know that I'm comparing the exact same time frame every single week. So try to make maybe a little calendar reminder for yourself to go in and pull your weekly stats. And that way, when you're coming in and looking at price reductions and it's just pulling the last 7 days, you're pulling it the same day every week. Does that make sense? Hopefully I explained that and it made some sense. Any questions on that? Feel free to put those in chat too. I've got our chat window up here and I can watch that as we go along here. Okay, we're going to go back to our home screen here.
Mina.
Yeah, go ahead, Mina.
Can you go back 1 second to that? On the across the board of what you see at the top, can you change that where it could also show you agent names or anything like that, or are those fixed?
You know what? Let me look here and see if you just click in one of these. Let's see if we can just add it right here. Oh, I don't want to do that. I'll go right over here where I was. If you click on one of those little gray things, you can insert a column. And let's see if you can insert. Well, We've got agent C, agent phone number. I bet it would be under L for listing agent. Let's see.
I'm so glad to know that you can do that on these. That's helpful.
Yep, there we go, listing agent.
Okay.
Let's go apply. There we go. And now we can, if we want to move this over, right there.
Perfect.
So you could also add company as well. Listing office is over here, so it's already there for you.
You can also as to when the pre-MLS date is.
Oh, you can add a column on that?
I've
Oh,
done it
wow, I didn't know that.
by the MLS number in there. There's some gray area, maybe just ahead of it. And well, you could put it wherever you want, but it's called like MLS live date or something in the area where you are once you get a column.
Oh, nice.
And you can't, get down to M faster.
There you go. I bet it's listing date.
Nope, it's live date.
Is that, okay.
That's right.
I don't see a live date.
Maybe it's MLS live date. There it is.
Oh, MLS active date.
I find that very helpful.
Oh, that's really helpful. I didn't know that was a column there. Great
Oh,
tip, Sheila. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah,
And then you could probably do days on market or whatever. I'm just so pleased to know you can customize those. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can drag them around. You can make them skinnier. If there's some stuff on there that you're like, I don't want to see this, maybe you want to print it and you don't want to see stuff, you can always take columns out too.
but does it stay there then once we've set it? Because mine seems
Oh,
to go.
let's see. Let's test it. Let's go back into price reductions. Yep.
Okay, I've never been in the hot sheets, so I've done it in the other one that you were doing.
Yes. Very handy. All right, so I'm going to go back to home here. Any questions before we move away from our price corrections, our price reductions, and how to keep track of those? Any questions on that before I move on? Next thing that we're going to look at is our days on market. And to look at our days on market, we're going to go to, I like pulling that from our stats tab. So up here at the top, you've got your stats tab. And I'm going to click into stats tab. And I'm going to walk you through, you can pull great information in here. There's fabulous information here. Up here, you've got, you want to start and really work this left to right. Over here, you've got some presets. So I'm going to pull just, I'm just going to click on one of these. And then I'm going to click into customize because that's really where I'm going to I'm going to do the days on market here. Time frame. I just want to look at year to date. And then what statistic do I want to look at? I want to look at our days to sell. I prefer looking at median. I think it gives you a more accurate number. Although it seems on a lot of our stats, we talk about when we put things out to our clients and put things out to the marketplace, we talk about averages a lot. The reason that I like median, especially when we're looking at our days on market, is you might have a listing and maybe it's like a new construction listing that's been on the market for 562 days. Well, that's really going to skew your average, So I like that median number better than I like average number. I think it's more accurate, especially when you're looking at days on market. So I'm going to select from this drop down our days to sell. And then if I want a secondary statistic, I can. I don't really want one for this. So I'm going to put none there. And I want it grouped by month. So I want to see what's happened in the first, 8 months of the year, what has happened with days on market. Now, if I want to come over here and start fine tuning this a little bit and getting a little bit more narrow, if I'm going to listing appointment, maybe I want to show area 310, or I would just want to show Jackson County, or I just want to show a neighborhood. If there's been enough activity in that neighborhood, I could do that. What you don't want to do is start pulling stats for a specific neighborhood, and you get such a small set of actual the actual data is such a small set that you're not really that accurate. So make sure that you don't get too narrow when you're pulling stats like this. So I am going to come over here and I do want to look at just residential on property type. I don't want to pull everything. I just want residential. Once I click that residential, I then get property subtype. So if I want to get even more narrow and I just want to look at single family, I can do that. I could do a map search here. I can also do by county. Let's just do a county search here. We'll just do Johnson there. So this is kind of our geographic constraints. And then we also have price constraints in bedrooms, bathrooms, some other options over here. I don't even touch that. I just want to see what's going on in Johnson County for the first part of 2021. Once I have these set, I can click generate right here. So I'm going to hit generate and it's going to show me a graph, and it's not the prettiest graph, I'm going to warn you, but you'll have great data. So this is our days on market year to date. This is our median days to sell a property. If I want to change the graph, this is showing me a smooth line graph right now. See under our days to sell here, I can do my chart type. There's a couple of different options here. I might want to do a column. So I changed that and I'm going to hit generate again. And now I've got a column. Now the graph is great, but I want to see the data. I want to see the numbers. Right up here at the top, we've got our chart, which is what we're looking at now. And then we can click on our data tab. And now we've got our data. So what's happened in all of Johnson County, the first part of 2021, and this will break it down for you month by month. So you can see we've been hovering since February, we've been hovering right around either 2 or 3 days. Now let's look at the difference. I just want to show you the difference if we look at our average instead of our median. See how that changes? So you could have a couple of listings that have been on the market for a really long time, and it's really going to skew your average. So that's why I really like to look at that median versus average, especially when you're looking at days on market. Any questions on that one, on pulling your days on market?
Christian,
Yes.
it's Bonnie. Can this also allow you to do absorption rate? Because I think that also shows trends in terms of what's going on in the market.
You've got to hand calculate that. That's not a preset. So I'm going to show you in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you a different, we're going to go over here at the top, we're going to go into market reports. And there's a pretty good report in there that will allow you to do your absorption rates, but you still have to hand calculate that. I don't think, unless they've added it in here, I don't see it in here. The other thing while we're in here, and our next kind of stat that we want to get is our sales price to list price ratios. So that's another preset in here that we can pull. So now that we pulled our days on market, let's see what's happened with our list to sales price ratios. I'm going to keep this at year to date, and I'm going to come down here, and in our statistics, I am going to pull our close price to list price ratio. Now you'll notice this next one down. This is pretty handy. When you pull your close to list price ratio, this is pulling the last list price before it went under contract. So if I started a property, let's say I list a property at 400 and I reduce, let's say I do 370 and then I'm at 360, then I reduce to 350 and it sells at 345. This first breakdown is going to give me that percentage based on my last list price. So it's going to give me that percentage based on that 350. Sometimes you might want to look at the original list price. Where did it start? Let's pull that and look. And for this one, instead of column, I do want to pull a smooth line on this one because I kind of want to see what the trend was. We're going to group it. We're going to keep this group by month, and I'm going to hit generate. Let's look at our chart first. There's our chart. Pretty interesting. And then let's look at our data and let's look at what's happened. There's something that is throwing us way off in March. There's a statistical anomaly going on in March. And I wish you could click in and actually see the listings that it's pulling. So let's look at, I have a feeling that somebody maybe had an input error on MLS, which happens. Somebody adds an extra 0. And so it's going to have your original list price at maybe 4 million instead of 400,000. So let's look at our close price to list price ratio. Let's see how different these numbers are. So take a look at these and kind of keep in your mind what these numbers were. And then let's hit generate and see how different these are. With the way the market's been the first half of the year, these shouldn't vary a whole lot. I wouldn't assume that these are going to vary drastically because we've not been doing a whole lot of price corrections. We've pretty much.
There's this newest real estate dog.
That's been taken off the table. We're seeing them now. So this is probably more accurate, and these numbers really are not that much different, right? If you remember the numbers that we had just a second ago with our original list price. So now all of a sudden in March, that looks right. That looks correct. We'll go back and look at our chart. And then there's our data. Now, when you go to print these, if you want to print these to take them to a listing appointment, if you want to show them to, maybe you've got a seller and you want to show them some of these stats to back up a argument for a price correction. When you go to print, which is right down here, we've got our little print icon. It'll give you kind of the print preview. Make sure before you hit print, you hit this little guy right here that says show tabular data. So this will print both the graph and the data. And then you can print, let me move this up. Then you can print. And it shows you both the graph and the data, which I love. Some people like looking at things, they resonate when they see things in graph format, and some people want the actual numbers. So I like to print it that way. You can also, if you want to, if you don't even want to look at the chart, you can also hit hide chart there and just print the numbers as well. Any questions on pulling that particular statistic? Do you see where this might be helpful as you're preparing to have those discussions, those expectations discussions with sellers or even with buyers to show them what the trend has been with our list to sales price ratios? Why we're in our stats tab up here, remember we're in this tab right up here at the top under, oh, don't give me that. Stop. We're in here right underneath our stats. Let me just show you a couple other things that you can pull while we're in here. You can pull your active listings to volume. I've never pulled that report. Your average close price, the median close price. You can pull your current price per square foot for new listings. Now, years ago, we couldn't pull this. It was not accurate because we didn't have to put square footage into MLS. Well, now it's a required field, so this might be a little bit more accurate. So if you want to show price per square foot, you might pull that. We've got our days on market here, expired listings, number of listings that have expired, then your average list price, your median list price, the number of new listings. Let's pull that and see what that looks like. Click over here to that one. That's for the entire marketplace. But you can see what's happened. Let's look at our data. Now you've got to be careful. Obviously August, we're only what, 13 days into the month. So you probably want to take August out because that's not really too accurate. But this, you can really see what's happened month by month with new listings. And you can get kind of a trend going here on what's happened with our inventory for the year. Now, what might be interesting is let's look at the past 3 years. And now you've got a side-by-side comparison of new listings for the last 3 years. This might be helpful when you're having conversations with sellers that are hesitant maybe to list their house in the winter months as we get ready to go into those. It doesn't feel like winter this week, but we'll be there before we know it. And as we are having those conversations late fall with sellers about listing in your winter months, this might be a good graphic, good stat to pull and have handy for you to help with those conversations on, what does the market do in November, December, January.
Christian, it's Mina again. So I see on that there's a place to export as a CSV file, which would then allow you to run percentages or other things.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
Correct. That'll take you right in. If you hit that, you can go right into an Excel with this data.
Okay.
Absolutely. The other thing that you can do, and I've really never done this, but it is an option here, is under this, I'm over here on the left-hand side, but under save, you could actually save this. So you could save yourself some time. If there's reports in here that you want to pull on a monthly basis just to track for yourself, you could always you could always save these. So if I want to save this, I can rename it. And I'm going to click that one. And then let's see where that shows up. That's kind of handy. Show on the home page, stats widget. Let's see what happens here. So now when I go to, let's go back to our dashboard and come back into here. Here's this widget, the My Stats widget. Sorry, my light just went off. There we go. And I can click right into this. And if I hit this generate, I'm going to use the search criteria that was saved, and this will pull new data for me when I come in here. So kind of an easy button there. You can also, when you come in, if you don't click on it from the home screen, when you come into your stats tab, let's come into the stats tab. Right here under presets, it's sitting right there. So I can hit my presets and then hit generate. And then if you want to use the information that you saved. So you're going to do this top one, use the search criteria that was saved with the preset. So great little shortcut there. That way you only have to remember how to set everything up once. Then save it, and every month you can come in and pull your own little stats. All right, I do want to show you before I go out of the stats tab here, anything else in here that you want me to go back, any questions you have or anything else that you want me to show, or do any of you use the stats tab? And if so, what are you using it for? Anyone?
Hey, Christian, it's Sergio. I have a question regarding the graph. Is there a way to overlay different criteria options? So if I wanted to compare stats for Johnson County and Jackson County and see the graphs?
So you can overlay, but you can't overlay the criteria. You can overlay, they've got some presets that you can overlay. So if I wanted to overlay, let's just do this. That way we don't get too crazy here. Let's go back to our year to date on this. If I want number of new listings, and then it should give me, in some of these, it'll give me Oh, why is it not doing this? Let's do this. Let's do our original price. I'm going to start all the way at the beginning here. Our original price to sold price. So I come into my customize tab here, and here it pulls in for me. Not every one of your, every one of the presets will actually allow you to do this. There are some that don't allow you to overlay, but on some you'll see the secondary statistic. So the first statistic it's going to pull is our original price. Let's pull our, let's pull a close price average. And then a secondary stat we can pull would be, let's pull a list price average. And then hit generate, and I'll show you what this looks like. Come on. This one, if you're going to overlay, I'm going to do smooth lines on this. You can kind of see what it looks like on top of each other. So Sergio, hopefully that answers your question. There are, yes, kind of, you can overlay, but you're confined to the system presets on that. So you can overlay with what they have in their list. You can't
Awesome.
pick additional data. But as Mina pointed out, you could export as the CSV file, and you could export one as Jackson and one as Johnson, and then do it. You could always do that manually, where you could then overlay the two of them together.
That makes all the sense. Thanks.
You bet. You bet. Any other questions while I'm in here? Okay, we are now going to click over to, we've been in the stats tab along the top, and we're going to go into market reports. And I want to show you a couple of reports that you have access to in your market reports. So we've got, I'm going to do two of these. We're going to do the home sales trend report, and I'm going to pull the residential activity report and show you what these look like. So first, let's look at our home sales trend report. And this is the criteria. You don't have a lot of options here with criteria. We're going to go ahead and leave the dates the same, but I could pull this monthly if I wanted to. And you can pull property types. If I just want residential, I can pull that. And then again, I can pull my property subtype. I'm going to leave subtype alone. If I want to go by county, so let's pull Jackson County this time. Or I can leave it and just look at the whole marketplace. You can do city, school district, postal code. You could do a Kansas or Missouri, which is kind of handy. And then let's hit generate report here. So the only criteria that I picked on this was basically a year-to-date residential in Jackson County. And this is going to give me a home sales trend report. Lots of numbers here. Lots of numbers. So let me zoom in and let's look at what we've got. So we have our price class. These are all preset. So it's telling us based on price, we've got price going down, and then across the top, you've got sold listings first. This is showing you by bedroom. So less than 2 bedrooms, how many sold properties were there in Jackson County for the first part of 21? How many 3-bedroom, 4 bedrooms? And then our total is right here. So our total sold in Jackson County year to date is just over 7,700 here. This also gives us our average price. What is nice is the data up here, the number of solds by bedrooms. You're rarely going to use that, but what you might use are these numbers down here. So you can see if you've got a listing and maybe it's a 2-bedroom and they want to get aggressive and price it like their 3-bedroom comparables, this would be a great thing to pull to show them what prices have averaged for 3-bedroom homes versus 2 bedrooms or less in Jackson County. Here you've got total sales volume. And then the columns, sorry, I'm having to go up and down so I can get this big enough for everybody to see it. Your columns over here then show you your active, your pending, your expired, and your off market. So your off market, I think, is your canceled or it's temporarily off market listings. Now down here, we've got our days on market, and this is taking the entire county. So it's not broken down by price or bedrooms, baths. For the entire county, it's showing your days on market. And it's showing you 0 to 30 of these total units, just under 6,000 sold in less than 30 days. You've got 862 that sold in 31 to 60 days. So it takes that days on market and kind of shifts it and gives you a different perspective on it and shows you how many homes sold in less than 30 days, how many homes sold, how many did it take, 30 to 60 days, 2 months to sell.
Christian,
Yeah.
so the days on the market are actually to close from the day it went on to closing? Or is that the days that it's marketed?
I think it's days that is marketed.
Okay.
That's a great question, Bonnie, and I will get clarification on that. But based on what I'm seeing on here, I think it's actual days on market.
Yeah, I think when you look at the listings and it talks about days on market, some of them aren't the same as what others. I think it's not always accurate. And so I find it confusing.
Well,
in terms of what to expect.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe from memory, if you put a listing into backup status, it continues to count days on market. If you put it into pending, it stops. Is that correct? And you've got the difference between, Patrick says, yes, that is correct. So you'll see a difference. Good. Michelle says correct. So okay, I have a feeling this may be counting days if a listing is still in backup status. It might still be counting those days. You also have in here the financing that was obtained for these listings. So this is pretty interesting. This might be valuable to show to buyers as they're competing for offers, and maybe they're FHA buyers, and you want to show them, okay, in the area that you're looking in, Jackson County, if we look at FHA, of the total units that were sold in the entire county for the first part of the year, 978, and do a percentage on this, 978 were FHA. So you can see where the bulk of them were conventional. You can also get some good stats here on how many, what percentage of our marketplace is cash, which is kind of fun. So if we go back and we take Jackson County out, you'd see this for the entire marketplace. And these might be some good stats just to have in your back pocket on financing. Any questions on this home sales trend report? You've got some pretty defined criteria on this. You can't get too wild on criteria, but it's a really handy little report. Okay, we are going to go back and I'm going to show you another report in here. I'm going to hit cancel. Now, I will show you this. This will be more valuable for you. But if you click on this agent production report, you can actually pull a production report for yourself in here. So I know you can access this on KCH Agent in our reports, but you can also pull it right in MLS. So this will show you, obviously I've not had any transactions. So I've got all zeros here, but it'll show you your sold properties, how many were listed, if they were co-op, if they were in-house, your list volume, your sold volume, your average list price, and your average sold price. And then you could pull your own stats right here on your list to sales price ratios. So kind of handy. I won't spend a lot of time on that. I just wanted to show that to you real fast. The other report that I do want to show in here is our residential activity report. So there's no criteria that you have control over on this report. You hit it and all you do is hit generate report. This one usually takes a minute to pull because it's a lot of data on this one. So let's look at, this is 2 pages here and it breaks it down. Let's blow this up so we can see what we're looking at. All right, this shows us, these are now sorted by area. So for those of you that are familiar with MLS area, a lot of you know exactly what these areas are. You can picture them in your head. A lot of our newer agents aren't taught MLS area. I will show you when we go back to MLS where you can actually get a map. Some of our offices have those giant maps on the wall. Those are actually our MLS area maps. So if you ever pull this report and you want to know what in the heck am I looking at, you're going to need one of those maps as kind of your key to this. So we've got, let's look here at, since we're just looking at Jackson County, right there is area 202, which falls in Jackson County. Scroll back up here to the top and I'll tell you what we're looking at. Your available inventory, your new listings. Now this is only for July. This is just your July report. So you need to, if you're going to use this report and you want to start tracking this, you need to come in and pull it every month. Because once the stats come out, they'll update this report and you won't have access to the previous month's reports. So you might use that calendar reminder and download these reports monthly. Your average list price, the number of pending sales in the month of July, the number of sales, your average price, sales price, your sales to list price ratio here, your average days on market, and then we've got our withdrawn, our expired, and I have no idea what BOM is. Sure, we could figure it out if I thought about it for a second. Back on market. So how many went off the market and came back on the market? That's a good stat to know. But kind of handy data there. What I like to do is come down here. I don't dissect it by area. I come down here and look at our totals. So in July, what were our totals on all of these different categories? Now you are going to notice that these are a little bit different than the stats that are put out on the graphics that come out from KCRAR and Heartland MLS. And I have questioned them in the past on why it's different. And it's different because they pull a moment in time when they do our MLS stats for the stats graphic. This is actually, to me, this is a little bit more accurate. This is actually pulling the actuals on every transaction, every data point from inside of MLS instead of just a moment in time. I won't go into detail on that. It drives me nuts, but you'll notice, you'll say, wait a minute, they said average list price for July was over 300 and in here it's not showing over 300. But some good broad stats for you to see. Any questions on this one?
Christian, when you're looking year over year and as we've added more areas to MLS, does that kind of skew the data if you were looking at the totals?
Good question. I actually asked that question to Rob Wagner, who runs MLS this week, and asked him what the numbers were, because when we were looking at our comparison, the MLS comparison of last year to this year, we were thinking, well, we've added MLS areas. Most of those MLS areas, I think that the percentage they gave me was like 0.04% was the actual number of listings that were added. It's such a small number of listings because they're smaller areas that they're not going to skew our numbers too much. The only addition that they were telling me that would skew numbers is when they go in and they're in the process right now of adding the Pittsburgh board. That's a bigger board. Most of the additions that we've had have been small enough that they are going to skew the numbers, but just slightly. They're not going to skew them a whole lot. But great question.
It would be kind of cool if on these reports, when it generates it, if it could put on there for the year what areas were added.
That would be nice. I'm going to make a note of that and see if they can do that. Great suggestion. All right, we've got a couple more minutes and I want to show you real quick. I want to flip over to showing time. And I want to show you how you can pull I like pulling, oh shoot, it's logged me out. Hold on. I have to cheat when I go into our showing time because I can't log in as me. I actually have to log in as my mom. Don't tell anybody that she gave me her password. I have to remember it. Hopefully I typed it right. There we go. Let me jump over to showing time. I want to show you in showing time where you pull. I like looking at buyer traffic. I like looking at how many showings. We can see in MLS the number of houses going under contract, what's getting price reductions. We can see what's coming back on the market. But what I want to know is how many people are actually out there looking at properties. What is the buyer pool like right now? So I like pulling the, there's a report here in showing time that I love to pull. This is what's pulled every week. When you see that weekly stats graphic, I'm going to show you how I pull that number. So when you go to the reports tab, which is right over here, when you log into showing time, on the left-hand side, you click on reports. These are the reports that you have access to. I like the target market analysis. So you'll go right to the bottom and you can either click there on the title or you can click over here on the little blue that says run report. And when you get back in here, right up here at the top, I'm going to set my date. So if I want to see, let's do a comparison of how many showings were there in the marketplace in June compared to July. So I set my dates first, and then I'm going to come down here and I can set my price range. Now, when I pull these for the entire market, I come in and I do no minimum. And then I come in here and unfortunately, there's not a no maximum. The highest you can do is 10 million. We don't have a lot of listings in our market over 10 million, so this will be pretty accurate. And then I don't put anything down here, but you could certainly put stuff down here. When we do those weekly market stats, we always get asked, oftentimes we get asked the question, are those for the entire market? And they are. If you want to do one for a certain city, a certain zip, a certain MLS area, school district, you can even go down to subdivision. You can put that data in right there. I like using the market-wide data. I want to see total buyer activity. What's the traffic been like? So I'm going to hit submit. And down here, it is going to show me by price point all of the listings. Now, here's where it gets real fun, and you've got to do a little math and get out your calculator. I have my little, Mike makes fun of me because I have my $2.99 calculator from Staples that I've had forever that I absolutely love. It's not very fancy, but it works. So I've got to come down here and you've got to add these manually, unfortunately. So I'm just going to ballpark so you don't have to sit here and watch me do math. We'll say there were 72,000 listings there, or showings there. But what you could do is come in and pull and start tracking your buyer activity by month. So I can pull this. This was again for the month of June. And let's just pay attention to this top number. Let's just look at under 500. There were 58,445. Let's see what that did in July. So I come up here and I just change my dates. I'm not going to change any of my criteria. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to do submit. And in July, there were 56,000. So did buyer traffic go down in that 0 to 500? It did by about 2,000. You could do a percentage on that. What percent decrease was it? I know we see it and we feel it. And we have these conversations about it. Doesn't feel like we're getting as many showings on our listings. There's not as many offers, but you can come in here and pull the real data. That way, as you're talking to sellers and you're setting those expectations, you can show them, here's what the, yes, it's one thing for me to tell you that anecdotally. It's another thing for me to put the numbers in front of you and show you in your price point. You might want to pull their zip code. Here's what buyer traffic has done over the course of the last 6 months or the last 3 months. So great information to pull here. Again, you get to this report by coming into reports and then the target market analysis. And they've got some presets up here. If you want to do some presets, you can just do the last 30 days and it'll show you real quick. It'll give you a nice quick little stats here. Up here on the top, you've got some options. You can email the report, you can print it, or you could download it as a PDF. And it actually looks pretty clean, pretty nice. Not a bad thing to take out and show people. Any questions on that report? Is that something you think you all will use? Maybe. Good. All right, I know we're butting up against our 10 o'clock stop here, but I just want to open it up if you all have any questions about anything we've covered today, about anything in MLS. I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes and answer any questions you all might have. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And oh yeah, Shelly, I was going to show you area map. Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, on your MLS dashboard, the widget, the external links widget, there are some awesome links in here. I know the print or the font on here is teeny tiny and it's hard to read, but there are some great links in here. One of them is right here, our MLS area maps. It's right at the top under your agent resources. If I click on this, a little hard to read, but here are your MLS area maps. You can actually, if you want to zoom in on it, there's a drop down right here. So if I want to know what is area 310, I can click on 310 and it'll show me a bigger slice of the map here. And it'll also show me right there what the coordinates are for area 310. So on the north boundary is the Wyandotte County line. The south boundary is 75th Street. The east boundary is state line to Schweitzer. So I can kind of get a visual there on where my boundaries are when you click into the different areas. Oh, large map right down here. So that's where your area maps are. Any other question? They also have the MLS service area county map, just so you know, it's in here. It's massive now and it keeps growing. But that is our entire, if somebody asks you, what is the entire MLS area? This is a great graphic to pull. Ron asked if you can get the map for school districts, and I don't think that they have that linked in here. Let me see if it's something they've added. Last time I looked in here, it was not in here. I do not see it in here unless somebody else knows where it is and I'm not seeing it. I don't think it's in there, Ron. I wish it was. That'd be a great thing to have. All right. Thank you all for joining this morning. It was good to see you all. Good to be back in this role for an hour. I love it. Stay dry and have a great weekend. I'll hang out for just a minute if anybody has any questions. But thank you all for joining. I'm going to stop the recording.